It's as when two houses burn in fire joins fire. Hate grappled hate and love broke in on love. Will wrestled with will on mind's invisible ground. Others' sensations passing through like waves, left quivering the supple body's frame. Their anger rushed, galloping in brute attack. A charge of trampling hooves on a shaken soil. One felt another's grief invade her breast. Another's joy exulting ran through the blood. Hearts could draw close through distance, voices near that spoke upon. Oh, I got tingly all over. Hearts could draw close through distance, voices near that spoke upon the shore of alien seas. There beat a throb of living interchange. Being felt being even when afar. A consciousness replied to consciousness, and consciousness replied to consciousness. And yet the ultimate oneness was not there. There was a separateness from soul of soul from soul. Of inner wall of silence could be built. An inner wall of silence could be built. An armor of conscious might protect the shield. And being could be closed in and solitary. One could remain apart in self alone. Identity was not yet, nor union's peace. All was imperfect, still half known, half done. The miracle of inconscience overpast. The miracle of the superconscious still. Unknown, self-wrapped, unfelt, unknowable. Look down on them, origin of all they were. As forms they came of formless infinite. As names lived of a nameless eternity. The beginning and the end were the occult. A middle term worked unexplained, abrupt. They were words that spoke to a vast wordless truth. They were figures crowding an unfinished sum. None truly knew himself or knew the world, or the reality living there enshrined. Or only they knew what mind could take and build. Out of the secret supermind's huge store, a darkness under them, a bright void above. Uncertain they lived in a great climbing space. By mysteries they explained a mystery. A riddling answer met the riddle of things. As he moved in the ether of ambiguous life, himself was soon a riddle to himself. As symbols he saw all and sought their sense. Across the leaping springs of death and birth and over the shifting borders of soul change. A hunter on the spirit's creative track. He followed in life's fine and mighty trails, pursuing her sealed formidable delight in a perilous adventure without close. At first no aim appeared in those large steps, only the wide source he saw of all things here, looking towards a wider source beyond. For as she drew away from earthly lines, a tense drag was felt from the unknown. A higher context of delivering thought drove her towards marvel and discovery. There came a high release from pettier cares, a mightier image of desired hope, a vaster formula, a greater scene. Ever she circled towards some far-off light, her signs still covered more than they revealed. But tied to some immediate. That's hot. Looking towards a wider source beyond, for as she drew away from earthly lines, a higher context of delivering thought drove her towards marvel and discovery. There came a high release from pettier cares, a mightier image of desired hope, a vaster formula, a greater scene. Ever she cried towards some far-off light, her signs still covered more than they revealed. But tied to some immediate sight and will, they lost their purport in the joy of use, till stripped of their infinite meaning, they became a cipher gleaming with unreal sense, armed with a magical and haunted bow. She aimed at a target kept invisible and ever deemed remote, thought always near. As one who spells illumined characters, the key book of a crabbed magician text. That water. He scanned her subtle tangled weird designs and the screened difficult theorem of her clues. Traced in the monstrous sands of desert time, the thread beginnings of her titan works, watched the charade of action for some hint. Read the no gestures of her silhouettes and strove to capture in their burden drift the dance fantasia of her sequences, escaping into rhythmic mystery, a glimmering of fugitive feet on fleeing soil, in the labyrinth pattern of her thoughts and hopes, in the byways of her intimate desires, in the complex corners crowded with her dreams. And rounds crossed by an intrigue of irreverent rounds, a wanderer straying amid fugitive scenes, he lost its signs and chased each failing guess. Ever he met keywords ignorant of their key, a sun that dazzled in its own eye of sight, a luminous enigma's brilliant hood, lit the dense purple barrier of thought's sky. A dim image, a dim large trance, showed to the night her stars, as if sitting near an open window's gap, he heard by lightning flash on crowding flash, chapters of her metaphysical romance, of the soul's search for lost reality, and her fictions draw from spirit's authentic fact, her caprices and conceits and meanings locked, her rash unseized freaks and mysteries turns, the magnificent wrappings of her scenery, wrappings of her secrecy, I apologize. That fold of her desirable body out of sight, the strange significant forms woven on her robe, her meaningful outlines of the soul of things. He saw her false transparencies of thought hue, her rich brocades with imagined fancies soon, and mutable mask and broderies of disguise. A thousand baffling faces of the truth looked at him from her forms with unknowing eyes, and wordless mouths unrecognizable spoke from the figures of her masquerade, or peered from the recondite magnificence and subtle splendor of her draperies. All sudden scintillations of the unknown, expressive sounds became veridical. Ideas that seemed unmeaning flashed out truth. Voices that came from unseen waiting worlds uttered the syllables of the unmanifest, to clothe the body of the mystic word, and wizard diagrams of the occult law sealed some precise unreadable harmony, or unused hue and figure to reconstitute the herbal blazon of time's secret things, in her green wilderness and lurking depths, in her thickets of joy where daggers clasp delights, he glimpsed the hidden wings of her songster hopes, a glimmer of a blue and gold and scarlet fire. In her covert lanes, bordering her chance-filled paths, and by her singing rivulets and calm lakes, he found the glow of her golden fruits of bliss and the beauty of her flowers of dream and muse. As if a miracle of hearts changed by joy, he watched in the alchemist radiance of her suns, the crimson outburst of one secular flower on the tree of sacrifice of spiritual love. In the sleepy splendor of her noons, he saw a perpetual repetition through the hours. Thoughts dance of dragonflies on mystery streams that skim but never test its murmurs race, and heard the laughter of her rose desires, running as if to escape from longed-for hands, jingling sweet anklet bells of fantasy amidst live symbols of her occult power. He moved and felt them as close real forms, in that life more concrete than the lives of men. Throbbed heartbeats. Throbbed heartbeats of the hidden reality. Embodied there was what but we think and feel. Self-framed here, what here takes outward borrowed shapes, a combat of silence on her austere heights. Accepted by her mighty loneliness, he stood with her on meditating peaks where life and being are a sacrament, offered to the reality beyond, and saw her loose into infinity, her hooded eagles of significance, messengers of thought to the unknowable, identified in soul vision and soul sense. Excuse me. Entering into her depths as into a house, all he became that she was or longed to be. He thought with her thoughts and journeyed with her steps, lived with her breath and scanned all with her eyes, that so he might learn the secret of her soul. A witness overmastered by this scene, he admired her splendid front of pomp and play, and the marvels of her rich, delicate craft, thrilled to the insistent of her cry. Impassioned, he bore the sorceries of her might, felt laid on him her abrupt, mysterious will, her hands that need fate in her violent grasp, her touch that moves, her powers that seize and drive. But this too he saw, her soul that wept within, her seekings vain that clutch at fleeting truth, her hopes whose somber gaze meets with despair, the passion that posed her longing limbs, the trouble and rapture of her yearning breast, her mind that toils unsatisfied with its fruits, her heart that captures not the one beloved. Always he met a veiled and seeking force. No more. Always he met a veiled and seeking force, an exiled goddess building mimic heavens, a sphinx whose eyes look up to a hidden sun. Ever he felt near a spirit in her forms. Its passive presence was her nature's strength. This soul is real in apparent things, even upon the spirit is life's key. But her solid outsides nowhere bear its trance. Its stamp on her acts is undiscoverable. A pathos of lost heights is its appeal. Only sometimes is caught a shadowy line that seems a hint of veiled reality. Life stared at him with vague, confused outlines, offering a picture the eyes could not keep. A story that was yet not written here or there. A story that was yet not written there. As in a fragmentary, half-lost design, life's meanings fled from the pursuing eye. Life's visages hide life's real self from sight. Life's secret sense is written within, above. Same. As above, so below. The thought that gives it sense lives far beyond. It is not seen in its half-finished design. In vain we hope to read the baffling signs or find the word of the half-played charade. Only in the greater life a cryptic thought is found, is hinted some interpreting word that makes the earth myth a tale intelligible. Something was seen at last that looked like truth in a half-lit air of hazardous mystery. The eye that looks at the dark half of truth made out an image mid a vivid blur, and peering through a mist of subtle tints, he saw a half-blind chained divinity, bewildered by the word in which he moved. Bewildered by the world in which he moved, yet conscious of some light prompting his soul, attracted to strange far-off shimmerings led by the fluting of a distant player, he sought his way amid life's laughter and call. and the index of chaos of her myriad steps towards some total deep infinitude around crowded the forest of her signs. At hazard he read by arrow leaps of thought that hit the mark by guess or luminous chance, her changing colored road lights of idea. Excuse me. In her signals of uncertain swift event, the hieroglyphs of her symbol pageantries, and her landmarks in the tangled paths of time, in her mazes of approach and of retreat, to every side she draws him and repels, but drawn too near escapes from his embraces. All ways she leads him, but no way is sure. Allured by the many-toned marvel of her chant, attracted by the witchcraft of her moods, and moved by her casual touch to joy and grief, he loses himself in her, but wins her not. A fugitive paradise smiles at him from her eyes, her dreams of beauty made forever his. He dreams of his mastery her limbs shall bear. He dreams of the magic of her breast of bliss. Truth. In her illumined script, her fanciful transition of God's pure original text, he thinks to read the scripture wonderful, hieratic key to unknown beatitudes, but the word of life is hidden in the script. The chant of life has lost its divine note, unseen, a captive in a house of sound. The spirit lost in the splendor of a dream listens to a thousand voice illusions ode. A delicate weft of sorcery steals the heart, or a fiery magic tints her tones and hues, yet they but wake a thrill of transient grace, a vagrant march struck by the wanderer time. They call to a brief unsatisfied delight, or wallow in ravishments of mind and sense, but miss the luminous answers of the soul, a blind heart throb that reaches joy through tears. Really? Know anyone like that? Maybe. I don't know. Probably all of us. A blind heart throb that reaches joy through tears, a yearning towards peaks forever unreached, an ecstasy of unfilled desire, the track the last heavenward climbings of her voice, transmuted our past suffering memories into old sadness's sweet escaping trail. Turned are her tears to gems of diamond pain, her sorrow into a magic crown of song. Brief are her snatches of felicity that touch the surface, then escape or die. A lost remembrance echoes in her depths, a deathless longing is hers, a veiled self's call, a prisoner in the mortal's limiting world, a spirit wounded by life's sobs in her breast, a cherished suffering is her deepest cry, a wanderer on forlorn despairing routes, along the roads of sound, and a frustrate voice forsaken cries to a forgotten bliss, astray in the echo caverns of desire. It guards the phantoms of a soul's dead hopes, and keeps alive the voice of perished things, or lingers upon sweet and errant notes, hunting for pleasure in the heart of pain. A faithful hand has touched the cosmic chords, and the intrusion of a troubled strain covers the inner music's hidden key that guides unheard the surface cadences, yet is it joy to live and to create, and joy to love and labor through all fails, and joy to seek though all we find deceives, and all on which we lean betrays our trust, yet something in its depths was worth the pain. A passionate memory haunts with ecstasy's fire. Even grief has joy hidden beneath its roots. For nothing is truly vain, the one has made, and our defended hearts God's strength survives, and victory's star still lights our desperate road. Our death is made a passage to new worlds, to this life. Music gives its anthem swell, To all she lends the glory of her voice, heaven's raptures whisper to her heart and pass. Earth's transient yearnings cry from her lips and fade. Alone the God-given hymn escapes her heart. That came with her from her spiritual home, but stopped halfway and failed. A silent word awakened some deep pause of waiting worlds, a murmur suspended in eternity's hush, but no breath comes from the supernal peace. A sumptuous interlude occupies the ear, and the heart listens and the soul consents. In evanescent music it repeats, wasting on transience time's eternity, a tremolo of the voices of the hours, oblivious the screens, the high intended theme, the self-embodying spirit came to play. On the vast clavichord of nature force, on a mighty murmur here and there, the eternal word, a blissful voice of beauty's touch transfiguring heart and sense. A wandering splendor and a mystic cry recalls the strength and sweetness heard no more. Here is the gap. Here stops or sinks life's force. This deficit paupers like magician's skill. This want makes all the rest seem thin and bare. A half-sight draws the horizon of her acts. Her depths remembers what she came to do. But the mind is forgotten or the heart mistakes. In nature's endless lines is lost the God. In knowledge to sum up omniscience, in action to erect the omnipotent. To create her creator, here was her heart's conceit. To invade the cosmic scene with utter God, toiling to transform the still far absolute into an all-fulfilling epiphany, into an utterance of the ineffable. She would bring the glory here of the absolute's force. Always remember to bless your water. Change poise into creation's rhythmic swing, marry with a sky of calm sea of bliss. A sea of bliss. Marry with a sky of calm, a sea of bliss. A fire to call eternity into time. Make body's joy as vivid as the soul's. Earth she would lift to neighbor with heaven. They'll be meeting soon. Labor's life to equate with the supreme and reconcile the eternally and the abyss. Her pragmatism of the transcendent truth fills silence with the voices of gods. But in the cry, the single voice is lost. For nature's visions climb beyond her acts. A life of gods in heaven she sees above. A demigod emerging from an ape is all she can in our mortal element. Here the half-god, the half-twain are her peak. This greater life wavers twixt earth and sky. A poignant paradox pursues her dreams. Her hooded energy moves an ignorant world. To look for a joy her own strong clasp puts off. In her embrace it cannot turn to its source. Immense her power, endless her acts vast drive. Astray is its significance and lost, although she carries in her secret breast the law and journeying curve of all things born. Her knowledge partial seems, her purpose small. On a soil of yearning tread her sumptuous hours. A lead essence weighs the wings of thought. Her power oppresses the being with its garbs. Her actions prison its immortal gaze. A sense of limits haunts her masteries, and nowhere is assured the content or peace. For all the depths and beauty of her work, a wisdom lacks that sets the spirit free. An old and faded charm had now her face, and palled from him her quick and curious lore. His wide soul asked a deeper joy than hers. Out of her daedal lines he sought escape, but neither gate of horn nor ivory he found, nor postern of spiritual sight. There was no issue from that dreamlike space. Our being must move eternally through time. Death helps us not. Vain is the vast hope to cease. A secret will compels us to endure. Our life's repose is to the infinite. It cannot end. Its end is life supreme. Death is a passage, not a goal of our walk. Some ancient deep impulsion labors on. Our souls are dragged as with a hidden flash, carried from birth to birth, from world to world. Our acts prolong after the bodies fall. Facts. I've been dead 3 times in this lifetime. 3 near-death experiences. Stronger than ever. Look at me now. Glass and love and light, Care Bear staring on everything. How you love that? Love y'all. Old faded charm had now her face, and Paul, her quick and curious, or wide as deep joined hers. I'll just start at line 860. I guess about where we were. Our being must move eternally through time. Death helps us not. Vain is not hope to cease. A secret will compels us to endure. Our life's repose is in the infinite. It cannot end. Its end is life supreme. Death is a passage, not the goal of our walk. I'll repeat that again for those in the back rows. Make sure y'all can hear me out there. One more again. Death is a passage, not a goal, not the goal of our walk. Immortality is. Some ancient deep impulsion labors on. Our souls are dragged as with a hidden leash, carried from birth to birth, from world to world. Our acts prolong after the bodies fall. The old perpetual journey without pause. No silent peak is found where time can rest. This was a magic stream that reached no sea. However far he went, wherever he turned, the wheel of works ran with him and outstripped. Always a farther task was left to do. A beat of action and a cry of search forever grew in that unquiet world. A busy murmur filled the heart of time. All was contrivance and unceasing stir. 100 ways to live were tried in vain. A sameness that assumed 1,000 forms strove to escape from its long monotone and made new things that soon were like the old. A curious decoration lured the eye, and novel values furbished ancient themes to cheat the mind with the idea of change. A different picture than that was still the same appeared upon the cosmic vague background. Only another labyrinthine house of creatures and their doings and events, a city of the trafficked of bound souls. Yeah. I'm gonna try and finish this. Got 4 more pages. If y'all like it, please hit the like and subscribe button. Take a quick small break and then finish. Okay. A market of creation and her wares was offered to the laboring mind and heart. A circuit ending where it first began is dubbed the forward. Excuse me. Is dubbed the forward and eternal march, or progress on perfection's unknown road. Each final scheme leads to a sequel plan, yet every new departure seems the last. Inspired evangel theory's ultimate peak, proclaiming a panacea for all time's ills. Proclaiming a panacea for all time's ills, or carrying thought in its ultimate zenith flight, and trumpeting supreme discovery, each brief idea, a structure perishable, publishes the immortality of its rule, its claim to be the perfect form of things, truth's last epitome, time's golden best. Time's golden best. But nothing has been achieved of infinite worth. A world made ever anew, never complete, piled always half attempts on lost attempts, and saw a fragment as the ethereal whole. In the aimless In the aimless mounting total of things done, existence seemed a vain necessity's act, a wrestle of eternal opposites in a clasped antagonism's close-locked embrace, a play without denouement or idea, a hunger march of lives without a goal, or written on a bare blackboard of space, a futile and recurring sum of souls, a hope that failed, a light that never shone, the labor of an unaccomplished force, tied to its act in a dim eternity. There is no end, or none can yet be seen. Although defeated, life must struggle on. Always she sees a crown she cannot grasp. Her eyes are fixed beyond her fallen state. There quivers still within her breast and ours a glory that was once and is no more. Oh, Pete, I see that belly. I'll get you in a minute, girl. Let my girly girl. See that cutie. Come on, puppy dog sleeps. Oh, she just put her legs down. Anyways. Or there calls to us from some unfulfilled beyond, a greatness yet unreached by the halting world. In a memory behind our mortal sense, a dream persists of larger, happier air, breathing around free hearts of joy and love, forgotten by us immortal in lost time. A ghost of bliss pushes her haunted depths, for she remembers still through now so far, her realm of golden ease and glad desire, and the beauty and strength and happiness that were hers, in the sweetness of her glowing paradise, in her kingdom of immortal ecstasy, halfway between God's silence and the abyss. This knowledge in our hidden parts we keep, awake to a vague mystery's appeal. We meet a deep unseen reality, far truer than the world's face of present truth. We are chased by a self we cannot now recall, and moved by a spirit we must still become, as one who has lost the kingdom of his soul. We look back to some God phase of our birth, other than this imperfect creature here, and hope in this or a diviner world to recover yet from heaven's patient guard. What by our mind's forgetfulness we miss, our being's natural felicity, our heart's delight we have exchanged for grief, the body's thrill we bartered for mere pain. The bliss for which our mortal nature yearns, as yearns an obscure moth to blazing light. Our life is a march to a victory never won, this wave of being, longing for delight, this eager turmoil of unsatisfied strengths, this long far flies of forward striving hopes, lift worshipping eyes to the blue void called heaven, looking for the golden hand that never came.